Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas from us here at Guerilla Sports. Another episode of Off Ice here on Christmas Eve, and it is brought to you by Trusted American Mortgage. Trusted American salary-based mortgage consultants want to help you get into a better interest rate and lower your monthly payment. Go to trustedamerican.com or scan the QR code on the screen to see how much money they can save you today. Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show. Hello, welcome in. Merry Christmas to all. Jesse Montano, Meghan Angley here on Christmas Eve to answer some of your Avalanche, NHL, whatever questions. Meghan, how are you doing on this Christmas Eve?
I'm doing so great. I'm back in Colorado Springs with some family. We've got some Christmas stuff going on today, but it wouldn't be complete without a little bit of hockey talk.
You and I were talking yesterday about what should we do Christmas Eve? And you and I just neither of us could help ourselves, but we were like, all right, we'll do a show. I guess we won't be in the studio because no one's coming in, but we're going to do a show. So we just couldn't help ourselves but to get one more in. How are the Springs? I mean, you got Christmas lights in the room that you're in, so it seems very joyous.
It's all my mom. She knows how much I love this holiday, so she changes out my bedspread. It's a fully Christmassy bedspread. There's lights around the whole room. I have a mini tree right here on my left.
Hell yeah. So
she goes all out. The whole house is kind of like this, but it's because she knows I love the holiday, and she's an amazing mom.
You're a big Christmas girly, huh?
Yeah, I actually introduced a new Christmas tradition to the family. It's Secret Santa with a song. So we like karaoke. So we drew names and we're going to gift someone in our family a song that they have to sing that we think they'd be good at singing.
Okay, so it's you think they'd be good at singing, not I'm going to give you the most embarrassing song that you could sing?
We specifically made a rule, no silliness. I think this will evolve over Christmases, and we want to get trickier about how we deliver the song to people, like slipping notes under doors, maybe making it a riddle, but we have to keep it simple this year, so it's not going to be silly this time around, but maybe in the future.
I love that. We started Secret Santa in my family, growing up, my family so many years ago now that I don't even know what it would be like to not do Secret Santa, but the singing element is fun. You guys are big karaoke people too, huh?
We really are, and we lived overseas growing up, and so when we lived in Japan, karaoke was huge, and so we just birthday parties, karaoke every Christmas. We'd be gifted new karaoke machines. We just love singing. Wow,
I love that. I didn't know that. First of all, and second, the explanation on it that all makes sense. I love that. Let's get into what we were going to talk about today, Meghan, and what we're talking about is everyone's questions. I am with this person in the chat. Prove it then. Prove that you love karaoke right now.
I'm a little scared to sing in front of people who aren't family. So I will be performing at Ball Arena. I'll keep you guys posted.
So keep an eye out for Meghan to be doing the national anthem when the Avs return back home. Meghan, you and I were talking about it. We were just, we want to do a mailbag. We haven't done a mailbag in a long time. Just get some folks' questions in that aren't immediately after a game, because you and I do take a lot of questions after games, but those are usually about the game itself. So we want to just kind of put out a general call for mailbag questions. And I know you got a few, I got a few. So we're just going to spend the next 25, 30 minutes kind of running through those questions. If you guys have any that are burning up, drop them in the chat and we'll try to grab a couple here. But Meghan, do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
I'll go first in asking you some questions. I think there's kind of a recurring theme around questions with the decor because Josh Manson is expected to be returning. So this one from Karen is, will Josh Manson be full-time in the D lineup upon his return?
Upon his return, yes. So here's what I've observed, Megan. I'm trying to pick the right things to say. Josh Manson looks 90% of the way back that he could jump right in and be a regular contributor night in, night out, taking his full reps. The last 10% is significant, though. I'm going to be curious to see where he's at coming out of this break. They more or less get an entire week off here. You've got one game against Utah within 8 days. So like they more or less have a week off. I am going to be curious to see if Josh Manson is in that Utah game, because I think he is. Like, I think his body's 90% of the way to go, but that last 10% is really key, and it's what's keeping him from being back in the lineup. So once that 10% he gets over that, yeah, I see no reason that he wouldn't be able to jump just straight back into the lineup, full-time contributor.
And do you imagine that kind of a second pair role back with Sammy G?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I do.
I do too.
Go ahead.
I think the Sams have done what they've needed to together, but I still think there's more information around what Manson and Gerard do together. And I won't view it so much as a demotion for someone like Malinsky, who'd probably work with Calvin DeHaan again on the bottom pair, because I actually think Calvin DeHaan's game has improved. It's, subtle differences, but I think he has a little more puck skill than Jack Johnson and certainly more mobility. So I don't feel the same way about Malinsky anchored to the third pair as maybe I would in previous years.
Well, and Malinsky, he's been such an interesting player this year because he's been able to play up and down the lineup on those pairings, and he's played with just about everyone on that D-core, and that I actually think has been one of his strengths this season, is that his game has been really adaptable to whomever Jared Bednar pairs him with. And so I'm with you. I wouldn't look at it at all as a demotion, because I know we'll see Sam Malinsky a little bit all over the place once he's once Josh Manson is back.
I agree.
All right, I'm going to throw this one to you. And this is from my great friend, and actually someone Zach Robb.
Yes.
Down in Arizona. Hi, Zach. Love you. Merry Christmas. Tell
Haley hi.
Yeah, tell Haley hi. And I'm asking you this, Megan. When the team gets healthy, who do you see driving the third line? Streaky Kibby has been a breath of fresh air, and Ivan Squared is the man.
I love this question. After the show yesterday, too, when you had me pick between Parker Kelly and Joel Kiviranta dangling off a cliff for some reason. The Ivan of it all didn't occur to me, but unfortunately for Ivan, who everybody listening knows I'm a huge fan of, I think that's the odd man out. And this is if we're looking at a lineup that has a Landeskog returning back to it too.
Right.
And I'm imagining that line being something like Landeskog, Colton, OC, and then that fourth line then becoming Kiviranta, Kelly, and Wood. And I think that makes sense. Obviously, I was a little quick to edge out Miles Wood, and I feel a little bad about that one because Ivan was right there, and that actually makes a little more sense. Obviously, though, Miles Wood being month to month does make this a tricky question. Is he even going to be an option at any point through the rest of the regular season? And is he healthy? Because the version of him we got this year has presumably been unhealthy for a significant amount of it, and his play has taken a toll. And so in that sense, I would actually prefer an Ivan. And so consider that a swap on that fourth line in this scenario. If it's Ivan, then with Parker Kelly and Kiviranta, I'm also cool with that. But that's kind of how I imagine it shaking out. I think if Landeskog returns as a fraction of the player that we know him to be, that is still going to be such necessary skill that a player like Ross Colton could still benefit from, because I think what he's been doing in the top 6 has changed how I view his role in Colorado moving forward. So I don't want to demote a player like Colton either, but that would be a pretty sick third line if Landeskog was on it.
No, I'm with you. And you and I were saying it earlier in the week. I've got this weird feeling that Gabe is going to make an appearance at some point still this season. So I'm with you. Trust. We talk a lot about Jared Bednar, trusting guys, having faith in guys. As great as Ivan has been for the Avs this season, Jared Bednar probably is going to lean towards Kiviranta, Parker Kelly, over a guy like Ivan, assuming this team were to ever able to get back to full health. I'm with you. I actually really like that assessment. And like, we do want to mention this, 6 years, 6 years by 2.5 for a fourth liner, talking about Miles Wood. Look, no doubt this has been a disappointing season for Miles Wood on several fronts, both the injuries, and when he has been in the lineup. Like, he hasn't been good, Megan. This has definitely been a disappointing year. Keep in mind, when we are talking about that money, salary cap's going up. It's all going to be relative. If Miles Wood can ever get back healthy, which right now we'll see if he does get back healthy this season. He's definitely got some ground to make up for sure.
I think what's tough too is the added value of Wood became what he was able to contribute on the penalty kill, but Parker Kelly has rendered that a little less useful and for a fraction of the cost. And so I think it is a valid point, and we've kind of talked around it all year, that you're right, that is a lot of money to be paying a fourth liner. I don't know then what his future looks like past this season. Just right. In the roster picture, I don't think they can afford to spend that kind of money at the bottom of the lineup when they're going to be looking to re-sign a player like Mackenzie Blackwood. Right.
You and I, like you said, had mentioned it multiple times this year that, I don't know, potentially Miles Wood was a trade candidate. If you're needing to shed salary, that might be a guy that you're looking at saying, with the emergence of Ivan, with the play of Parker Kelly, with the play of Yoel Kiviranta of late, and even what you've seen from guys like Prishepov and things like that. I don't know, is Miles Wood maybe just became a little bit more expendable this season. So
when they signed Miles Wood, Georgiev was the goalie of the future. And so that was the amount of money they were committed to spending on that position, but that's changed now. And so they need to brace themselves for a more expensive goaltending option and net. And I think that's going to be why the conversation around Wood has also changed. It's not even to, bash on the guy. I don't think anyone here doesn't like Miles Wood. I think that we like the kind of chaos and speed that he brings, and obviously the friendship with Colton, but the goaltending situation is going to have lasting repercussions for this team, and it's going to force them to change their approach in a bit of ways, and it might come at the expense of some beloved depth guys like Wood.
The Miles Wood contract, I never thought it was bad because it's 2.5, like that's kind of whatever. I did always find the term length on that one to just be odd. Not bad, just I just thought it was interesting.
I agree with that. And so I'm kind of going to throw the very same question back to you, but you could maybe look more at the top of the lineup. But Karen asked, how do you see the lines changing when Miles Wood and Jonathan Drouin return? So I'm curious where you see kind of Drouin's fit and what your lines 1 through 4 look like.
So what's so funny is the same exact player that you were saying, has really shifted the way that we look at things, especially in that bottom 6. I feel the same way about the top 6. What Ross Colton has done on the wing in the top part of this lineup has just reshaped the conversation around Jonathan Drouin just a little bit better. Just a little bit. I still think Jonathan Drouin is a guy that they would like to be a top 6 player, playing alongside Nathan MacKinnon like he did last year and had a career year. This has definitely been a weird injury. Jonathan Drouin was hit in the first game of the season, played the rest of that game, and now, with the exception of a small little blip right in the middle of it all, has missed half the season. Like, very quickly, we've kind of blinked, and Jonathan Drouin has missed the first half of the year. And I don't know. You have to imagine that all that good that we talked about of him being able to build on what he did last year and come in continuing to ride that, like it feels a little bit like Jonathan Drouin's going to have to be kind of starting the process over when he gets back into the lineup and getting the game speed and getting his legs back and the timing and all of that. I actually feel like the top 6 probably doesn't change if/when those 2 players come back right away, especially depending on what Ross Colton is giving you. You're probably leaving that top 6 the same until Drouin can come back in. And like that to me is a situation where Drouin is back. He's a few games in, he's getting his legs back, and you need to shake things up over the course of a game because maybe it's a little bit stale, and you plug Drouin in on the top 6 and see how he hangs. But I definitely think these injuries and the play of Ross Colton have reshaped the conversation a little bit.
I think it's an excellent point, and this is where I get a little scared for my guy Kiviranta, because there's a center problem then. If Ross Colton is being used as a wing, Jonathan Drouin also a wing, who's centering that third line? You know, does Parker Kelly bump up there? Is he with O'Connor and a Landeskog? Which is maybe where we're getting ambitious with all of this, right? Is we're probably not getting all of these things on our wish list, but that leaves then a hole on the fourth line, and that is Ivan Music, and that's where Kiviranta maybe does feel like the extra guy out, but I don't know that I like that. I don't know if you just utilize Ross Colton as a center again, even though we saw that he really thrived on wing, but that's where I'd get tripped up. But again, maybe we're just getting too ambitious and expecting all of these players to be able to return at the same time.
Right. But you know, it is, and here's the hard part though, Megan, like we have so many people that reach out to us and ask questions and say, well, why isn't Chris McFarland doing this? Well, why isn't the front office doing that? You know, why didn't they address this before? It's because they have to play this exact same game of, okay, well, what do we do if all of these players are ready to come back before the playoffs? Okay, well, how do we handle it if, you know, we've made this move and then this player is ready to come back? Like, you do have to play some of these hypotheticals. And is it unlikely, to your point? Yes. But is it possible? Of course. And that's where what Ross Colton has done, as great as it's been for the Avs, it has definitely thrown a little bit of a wrench into the whole situation of he's your third line center. Now he's playing like a top 6 wing. And how do you pull him off of that, knowing that you'd be putting him back in a situation where he hasn't played as well for you? But, you know, then again, okay, well, if Gabe Landeskog is back, does that help him? And playing with, you know, it's just, it's definitely Ross Colton's positive play has muddied the waters a little bit.
This is a really fun conversation because it also makes me wonder about Casey Middlestat and all of it. Like, Casey Middlestat's game has gone a little bit quiet again. And so I think if you were to poll Avs fans right now, there would be a little bit of disappointment in the year Casey Middlestat has had, even though he started so hot. And I wonder if, like, a Drouin would be more complimentary to Middlestat than what Ross Colton is able to provide right now, for example.
For sure.
And would something like that help to make this decision? But to your point, you don't want to hold a player back when you've seen that their ceiling might be, oh, you actually might be better as a top 6 wing. Then you don't want to regress. You don't want to put them behind. But I think it's important to note too that Ross Colton wasn't a bad third line center. He was good. He's just great as a top 6 wing. So the Ross Colton of it all is a really fun kind of unexpected development this year, because it's not a bad problem to have that a player surpassed expectation.
Yeah. And I just wanted to throw this one up here real fast. Do they sell Kivy while he has value, maybe to a team like Philly as part of a Frost trade? I mean, look, I'm not gonna say that they wouldn't trade Yoel Kiviranta, because obviously that's the exact type of player that you see go in those types of deals. But I do feel like, fans, media, we get caught up sometimes in the like, oh, sell high on this guy. No, he's playing well for you. Don't sell. He's playing well. He's adding the value, unless it's something that, really you feel moves the needle for your organization. Yoel Kiviranta, the way he's playing right now, that's the exact type of player that you need as you get later into the playoffs. And what I'm about to say is not a shot at Yoel Kiviranta, but we saw it in the bubble a couple years ago. Those are the types of players that aren't necessarily every night players in the playoffs. And as you get deeper in, you go, more rounds. Those are the exact type of players that can be difference makers. They can come in with fresher legs. They're reliable. They're NHL level players, no doubt. Like with the Avs and where they're at, you need the Yoel Kivirantas of the world. Even when you're fully healthy and they aren't every night players, they have great value. And again, if you need evidence on that, just search 2020 playoff bubble Avs Stars Game 7, and you'll get your answer for why those players are important.
No, it's true. Even Winnipeg Kiviranta this last off summer, I don't know what I'm saying. Round 1, playoffs. You guys know. You know the vibes. Anyways.
It's Christmas Eve. You know the vibes. Megan's just going nuts off eggnog right now. It's 11:20 in the morning.
It's coquito in Puerto Rican households.
Okay, all right, there we go.
And I haven't had any coquito, just to be clear.
Okay, sure. I'm going to go to one from Abby here. I've actually got 2 on this topic. Do you mind if I just push these 2 together?
Yes, I don't mind.
Okay, so this one's from Abby. When Manson comes back, will Middleton be sent back down, or will he still be worked into the lineup? And then the other question, this one from Rycroft's Mullet. What has Middleton done that Ludwig hasn't to earn a spot in the lineup currently? Let's start with the first one. I would bet almost anything that Keaton Middleton will be reassigned once Josh Manson is back in the lineup. Do you have any reason to believe otherwise, Megan?
No, that one feels easy. They just don't want to carry that many contracts. It doesn't make a lot of sense with Ludwig also there.
So now let's talk about the I love the way you always say this, the Ludwig of it all. I was asked this question the other day, Megan, or something like this. I truly don't know. I have not had any, like, Ludwig definitely hasn't been like, oh man, that's a top pairing guy. He has been perfectly serviceable in my opinion. The odd mistake here and there. Nothing that Keaton Middleton hasn't done, or Oliver Shillington, or Calvin DeHaan. I would even go as far to say I've liked John Ludwig's game in the games that we've seen him. I'm not sure why he's not drawing into the lineup right now.
I'm actually going back to the Carolina game because that was the last game that we saw him in. It was obviously not a great game for the Avs. And I'm trying to rack my brain if there was something incredibly egregious that he specifically did, because I'm on the same page as you and other people who are asking. I think it's a great question. I don't know. And this isn't anything against Keaton Middleton, but they bring to the lineup something kind of similar. And Ludwig don't even have elite prospects pulled up, but I'm assuming more NHL games to his name. So he has that experience.
Yep, he's got 54 games played.
Yeah, that's easily more than Keaton Middleton's. I'm not sure, you guys. Mm-hmm. I wondered if there was anything behind the scenes he was dealing with injury-wise, and then maybe there was illness, because those things seem to come at the same time. You know, a player like Shillington who was sick and then just became hurt. I just wonder if Ludwig followed a similar path, because I don't think he's done anything so wrong that he shouldn't be the first guy drawing into games when they need that. I wish I had a better answer.
No, honestly, Megan, it might even be something that I asked Jared Bednar about when we get back from the holiday break, of just like, why? Because there hasn't been anything for me that's like, oh, I would keep him out of the lineup for an extent. You can't play that guy. Like, I think he's been perfectly fine. I'm surprised he's only played in 8 games this season, and that just is a little surprising to me.
Oh, I mean, this is not big enough of a deal, but the Roslovic goal in the Carolina game, Ludwig. Oh, I kind of remember this now. He was juked by Roslovic. He was baited into rotating and allowed that goal against. But I'm going to be honest, I can find a mistake like that for every player on the back end, including Taves and Makar. So I doubt that's the reason why.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think his underlyings have been like crazy bad. Again, I haven't had a huge issue with John Ludwig in any of his games where it's like, oh my gosh, that guy's just can't play him. I'm not fully sure. Like you said, I'm not fully sure why he's not getting the reps.
Sorry, that's not a helpful answer, but no, I think to pursue Bednar on it a little bit, and it's a perfect Bednar question.
Totally. All right, do you got one?
I do. There's a couple in the chat I've been curious about. I am not good at projecting contracts. Do you have any idea what a Mackenzie Blackwood extension would look like?
I saw that one come through. And,
sorry.
No,
I try to give credit to the person who asked it.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. I saw it too.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I'll find it. Bailey. I think that's one that you're probably trying to do shorter term, 2 years ish. And my guess is that they probably want to get that. They want to try to get that done sooner rather than later. 2 years, 4.5. I don't know. 4.5.
I don't think that's going to be good enough because that's Georgiev money. That's Georgiev money. And I'm sure if I'm Mackenzie Blackwood and his agent, I'm looking at that like, well, you just didn't want that. So if you really want me, show me. I think it's got to be definitely a 5, maybe even nearing 6, which I know it sounds crazy. Call me crazy. Maybe I'm overvaluing goalies on the whole, but with the cap going up and seeing the goalie market being set in this off season, even with the delays to sign Swayman and things like that, I just have a feeling goalies are going to be wanting more. And so I like just games and others. I could see a 6 being the number and it wouldn't surprise me.
The only reason that would surprise me is because that would just really go against the grain for what the Avs have done in recent history with goaltending. Again, not saying I couldn't see that, but I know they're really high on Nabokov. Ugh. I just don't know. Again, like if you get it done tomorrow, you can still play the he's unproven. You can still take that stance of we don't know what he is. We don't know if he can get us to the promised land. I'm with you. I think it would be really hard to get him for under 5. Because of the point that you just made about like him and his agent being able to say, well, you guys just said that wasn't good enough. And then you went and got me. So clearly I'm worth more than that.
Yeah. Cujo says Kemper contract. That's 5.25. I don't think that's crazy to imagine. That seems plausible, but you're right. It would change the way that they approach this position, and which will force them to change the way they've set up the rest of like the forward group, for example. I think on the back end, they still have some pretty affordable options, but there's still a Mikko extension hanging in the balance. So it's going to be a little interesting to see what they come up with.
Well, and then on top of that, the other element to this too is how much does the cap go up? Elliot Friedman reporting that it could be getting close to $100 million next summer. And, if that's the case, yeah, sure. Give Mackenzie Black whatever the hell he wants. Like, who cares?
And they've got one more year. So that is a nice option for a backup that you feel pretty good about getting closer to a starting number.
And right. Yeah. You don't have to worry about where that number is at. Okay. This is the last one that I've got in my chat, and it's again from Zach Robb. Zach.
Yeah.
Just absolutely love it. Hannah laughed from downstairs. So, all right, let me actually tell a quick funny story that involves Zach. When I was in San Jose this last week, sometimes I don't book the hotels. We don't book the hotels. Someone else at Guerilla will book them for us or whatever. So I was just told where I was staying. I didn't, in kind of autopilot mode, super early flight, things like that. So when I was, I think like 19, maybe we were 20, our hockey team wanted to go out and play in this national roller hockey tournament that was out in San Jose. And roller hockey, you don't need as many players. So there was only, we had 6 skaters and a goalie. And like I said, we were like 19 or 20. And it was like one of the first big tournaments that like everyone was going to, like without their parents coming with them. And we all just decided to drive. It was a 23-hour drive. There was 7 of us total. So we piled in 2 cars and we drove out there. And we were like 19-year-old shithead kids. And so we had like gotten on the list of, or like gotten on the website for like approved hotel or partnership hotels with the tournament that were like giving discounts. And we found this hotel in downtown San Jose that claimed to have what they were calling a presidential suite that had like 2 floors, multiple beds, all this different stuff. Like we had talked to someone online, they're like, oh yeah, you guys could fit like up to 10 people in it. So we're like, awesome. Well, we get to this hotel. We drive 24 hours. It was a nightmare drive. We went straight through and we get there and they were like, we don't like, there's no room like that in this hotel that exists. I don't know who told you that. I don't know what you're talking about. So they give us this key. We walk in this room. There's 7 of us, 1 bed. It's like not even a couch. There's like a chair. So we're all standing there piling hockey bags through the door. This one kid on our team just starts taking all of his clothes out and just starts ironing them and hanging them up in the closet. We're all like, what is happening? We end up having to switch hotels. Again, we're a bunch of dumb 19-year-old kids. So we still only got 1 room at this other hotel, but it had 2 beds. So we were like, oh, well, that's better. We slept 3 people to a bed long ways. And then the rule we made was whoever had the fewest points that day had to sleep on the floor. So it just became this. All that story is to say, I get in my rental car in San Jose and I drive to my hotel, and wouldn't you know it, it's the hotel that we all tried to stay at with 1 bed. So I finally got to stay a night at the St. Clair Hotel in downtown San Jose. And so I was texting Zach last week and we were just laughing our asses off.
That's incredible. Who slept on the floor?
It was a couple different people. 2 of the nights it was our buddy Sam. And then I can't remember who it was the other night, but one of the nights that Sam slept on the floor, the air conditioner leaked and he woke up soaking wet in the middle of the night.
No.
Yeah. Because he was laying by the air conditioner and it was leaking. But like we look back on it now and it's like, that was like such a dumb, again, just 19-year-old boy thing to do. The tournament went very well, but that's the other thing that's just funny about it is like, if I had to sleep sideways on a bed right now, I wouldn't even be able to like go for a walk, let alone perform athletic activity. Anyways, my last question from Zach here. Approaching the midway point of the season and seeing the workload of McKinnon, Mikko, Makar, Lecky, and Taves, do you think it would be fair for any of those players to say, cool, but no thanks to 4 Nations? Yeah, you go first.
It's pretty simple from my perspective. I'm not the one putting on the jersey, but it's different from the All-Star game. I think there is pride in putting on, the Team Canada jersey. And so I just can't see that being the case. It's really cool opportunity for Taves to be able to compete with Makar, represent Canada, It's going to be a pretty stacked team. Obviously, Rantanen and Lehkonen representing Finland. I just don't see that happening. I have to imagine this means even more to the players. And from my perspective, it already means a lot.
Well, and not only that, because I totally get what Zach is saying. You know, we even talked about that at Guerilla Sports over the summer with Jamal Murray going to the Olympics. And is this really what's best for a player like him who's injured, trying to get back to the player that he was? And so I totally get it. This isn't an Olympics, things like that. But this is the first best on best competition that any of these players are going to get to participate in at this level. And this is also a massive audition for the Olympics next year. Devon Taves looking to make that Olympic team. Nathan McKinnon getting to play alongside Sidney Crosby. Arturi Lehkonen looking to make that Olympic team. I totally get it. I understand the thought process on it, but I'm with you. I do think that these guys are probably looking at this as too big of an opportunity for them to pass up.
I will do just one more. Shout out to Abby, though. You submitted a couple of great questions about Blackwood and Wedgwood. I think we should talk more about that after the break and just how they've acclimated to the team, because it appears to be going super well. But this one's from Trevor Bentley in the chat. Do you think there's any sense of concern about Middlestad's play as of late? Bro is colder than the North Pole right now. Are you worried, Jesse?
I'll stop short of saying worried. He's got to get it figured out here, though. This has gone on a little bit too long. There was a level of it that I was willing to write off as it's a long season. You go through ups and downs. Players like Casey Middlestad have the ebbs and flows of a season. It's gone on a little bit too long. I really want to see him start to break out of this coming out of the break. I'm not saying he's got to be, putting a goal in every night, become a 30-goal guy, but you're here to be the 2C. He seems like he's fit really well, and he's got to break out of the slump. This isn't Buffalo. You can't do this for an extended amount of time.
No, I'm still holding out hope for the version of him we saw not only in the playoffs, but immediately following the deadline. It was impressive how quickly he acclimated to the team and played a way that was so complementary to the Avs that I still think that version of Casey Middlestad is in there. But it is concerning, and I hope that this break away from games here over the holiday is exactly what he needs to mentally reset, because now that top six is a little more complete than we've seen it. He's had a revolving door of line mates throughout the year that presented a lot of challenges. Sometimes he was the one expected to drive a line of, rookies and like a Kovalenko or a Richie, and that's not been the case now for a little bit. And so he has support from excellent players, whether it's a Rantanen or a Nichushkin. Ross Colton brings so much energy, and Casey said that he's just a good time to be around. So I think there's a lot of positives around Casey right now to help him to be the best version of himself. So I hope that this break is really good for him.
We talk so much about work ethic, and Jared Bednar said that Casey Middlestad needed to play with more energy and be moving his feet. And honestly, Megan, what occurred to me is he might need to make a stop at 7 Brew. 7 Brew Coffee is a one-of-a-kind drive-through and walk-up experience with a fast and friendly crew that is waiting to serve you. From rich, bold coffee to refreshing energy drinks, Casey, smoothies, teas, and more, 7 Brew has you covered. With over 20,000 flavor combinations, there's a perfect drink for everyone. At 7 Brew, they believe in cultivating kindness with every cup, and their fully customizable menu is just the beginning. Before you hit the road or the ice, power up with 7 Brew in Firestone and experience the coffee revolution. What did you try when you were up there?
I tried the sweet and salty. It's a caramel, like a salted caramel coffee, and I did it with oat milk, and it was delicious. Drank the whole thing.
Yeah, it sounded like you guys were vibrating a little bit up there. You and Chloe were just like kind of bouncing around.
I was a little nervous for the audience watching that one.
Do you know what Chloe got? I tried the cinnamon roll, and I really liked it.
She got the blondie. That's what Blake got too. So none of us got cinnamon roll, even though you recommended it.
Blake has now had 3 blondies in 2 visits to 7 Brew. He's just sucking those things down.
he has a Blondie t-shirt now because they have really cool merch, and there's one that just says Blondie across it.
I love that so much. All right, there one more question came into the chat here about Casey Middlestat that I just want to piggyback off of. Before we do that, to wrap things up, I am going to remind you guys about our great friends over at Landmark Lincoln. Megan and I had a great opportunity to go in, see Landmark Lincoln up close, talk with the folks there, see some of the vehicles. Just an outstanding dealership experience, some beautiful, beautiful vehicles, great incentives, and some great lease offers right now from Landmark Lincoln. The all-new 2024 Lincoln Corsair GT plug-in hybrid. We got to sit in it, try it out. You have to go check it out for yourself. Go to landmarklincoln.com to see the latest offers and incentives. See if you qualify for no payments for up to 90 days. Again, that's Landmark Lincoln, the #1 Lincoln dealer in Colorado for over 100 years, Megan. Last question here, and it's a build off of the Middlestat question. In your eyes, 4 eyes, thank you. What is Middlestat's issue? You answer while I sneeze.
Okay, so funny. Wasn't ready for the sneeze. Rogue Wave, good to see you in the chat. And for Casey,
sorry about that.
Casey Middlestat, as like Keaton Middleton's issue. Got it. I think that Casey Middlestat has had a couple challenges this year because I don't actually think it's been the same each time. Like in the initial lull after he was hot to start the year, I actually had a lot of theories around it. And Jared Bednar talked about Casey just needing to move his feet a little bit more. And this is the type of player who is working one-on-one extra with Nathan McKinnon every practice, sometimes even when they're the only two at an optional practice. So I want to shout out Casey Middlestat's work ethic. I don't think that when I say Casey Middlestat needs to move his feet, it's really an engagement issue. I have really felt it's a mental block more than anything, which is also where I think the start of the year when he was in that little bit of a lull, he was shooting the puck, but he wasn't making very good decisions because he was holding on to the puck a split second too long. And it's because I think he has it in his head that he is this high IQ elite passer. And in the absence of a Jonathan Drouin who does those things very well, I feel like maybe there was some pressure like, all right, I need to help pick up the slack, especially with a player like Drouin missing from this. I'm really kind of the sole person now who can bring this component, and that's dramatic. There are other great passers in the top 6, but I just wonder if making the perfect pass got in his head a little bit too much during that initial lull, and so he kind of stopped shooting the puck and was probably deferring to the pass more than he needed to, but because he waited that split second too long, it led to a broken play. And so right now, though, in the post-Russ Colton returning era, I feel like that's gotten a little bit better. I'd like to see him return to shooting a little bit more. And it goes back to what we said initially, that I just want to see him trust his instinct, because I think that's what all of it boils down to, is him second guessing himself a little bit too much. And my hope is there's maybe just been a little bit of pressure. You know, he signs extension over this offseason, becomes a long-term 2C option, and he's playing 2C behind a Nathan McKinnon. I have to imagine there's a lot of pressure there to be good, to be what Colorado wanted you to be in what was clearly a big trade. With Buffalo, they give up a Bowen Byram. That was obviously a huge asset here in Colorado. I just wonder if he needs a second to take a rest, take a breather, reset his mind a little bit, and just operate on instinct coming out of the break.
I made the sarcastic comment a minute ago of like, you can't do this for too long. This isn't Buffalo. I do wonder a little bit if everything that you're talking about, add on the fact that, yeah, he's not in Buffalo. He's going through this for the first time. Obviously, he came in last year at the deadline. Playoffs, he was really good, took his game to kind of another level. But yeah, you're going through the gauntlet of the season on a team with expectations where losing isn't acceptable. And I could see what you're saying, feeling a little bit of that pressure. But it just comes back, like you said, trust your instincts, do the little things right, and you're going to put yourself in position to let your skills shine through. I think Casey Middlestat will break out of this, but he's got to take the week here, compress schedule. It's been a lot of travel. You get a week to reset, get your mind right. I'd love to see him come out in that Utah game and just make an impact. Megan, that's going to do it. we're going to wrap it up for today. We're going to get out of here, get on with Christmas Eve. Nothing for us tomorrow. Guerilla Sports Wide. We will be off for Christmas Day. And then Megan and I will be back talking Avs on Friday. Utah. The Avs taking on the Utah Hockey Club. And we'll have you guys covered. That's it. Megan, have a very Merry Christmas. Everyone in the chat, thank you guys so much. This is always a great opportunity for us to just say thank you for everything that you guys do to support us throughout the year. And we really, really appreciate it. And hey, first day of Hanukkah is tomorrow. Happy Hanukkah to all of you out there who will be celebrating the first night tomorrow. Megan, got anything else before we get out?
Couldn't have said it better. Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. And we look forward to talking to you guys right after Christmas. She's Meghan Angley. I'm Jesse Montano. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a good one.